just by starting the day is, for those riders, a bonus, but not the way they would have wanted to do it, because everybody, they've been in that situation at one stage or another in races where they've had to abandon due to either illness or injury, and you don't want to see anyone go out like that. However, with the abandonment, just looking at the UAE team, with the abandonment of Juan Ayuso, if you were going to lose anybody of your climbing lieutenants, then I'd suggest that the loss of Ayuso to Tadej Pogacar is probably the best possible scenario, compared to losing a Yates or an Almeida for the amount of experience they've got and the way they've been working in this race so far. And we sort of look at the early few days of Juan Ayuso riding like he's... And he's correct, those other teams have to ride. So just going to say that Ayuso would look to be riding quite a lot for his own chances, keeping something in reserve where the others have really sort of laid it on the line, even though they're high up on GC.
Yeah, potentially. I think my biggest worry here now is that illness spreading throughout the camp. Who's been rooming with Ayuso? We saw for Bahrain with Fred Wright and then Peo Bilbao how quickly it can spread through the camp, because these riders are so depleted, their immune systems are suppressed. And that's a big worry for me. We just heard from Arkea B&B there, and these director sportifs now, with these riders in the group behind, they're just trying to offer up as much motivation to their riders as possible. There's so many teams here behind that have missed it, they're not happy with Adam Yates up ahead. So just trying to keep that momentum in that group behind.
And you hear also, where we heard you earlier, Rob, speaking with Adam about the possibility of if sprint teams just offered up one rider into the chase, they could shut this thing down. But we hear other teams saying, nope, it's the responsibility of Ineos and Soudal to do the chasing, so we're going to sit back, we're going to gamble on that, save our resources. And it happens so much at sort of this stage of the race, halfway through a Grand Tour, energy conservation, trying to keep all your lead out guys or guys for later on. If you offer them up this early in the stage, 110k to go, there's more crosswinds down the road, happen all over again.
I was just going to say, I was wondering if we get later down the line, the gap opens up slightly more, whether we will see that, that offering up of one of the riders from those sprint teams, because ultimately, if they don't, it could be a wasted opportunity.
Well, what if you empty yourself in the chase? You do chase down the break that's up the road now, all comes back together, you've exhausted yourself, next crosswind section splits again, you're out the back, and voila, out of the time limit, and your race is over. Well, yeah, but that is the gamble. So they just say, sit back for now, long way to go. It's only 51 seconds, so they don't need to just yet.
There's quite a few sprint teams who have riders in the breakaway, though.
That too.
Quite a few. And in fact, there are two sprinters themselves in the breakaway, in Vandenberg and De Lee. They're certainly not going to work. And again, like I said before, just imagine going to dinner tonight, the one stage that you might have had an opportunity in a great breakaway, and you've been chased down. You've got to sit down, but you're not going to be popular.
You're not going to be popular, and also the intent from Alpecin to Koenig now, they're clearly happy with having Mathieu van der Poel up here rather than Philipsen, so it's going to be a tough day for them behind.
Rob and Danny, I think now, seeing this time gap, it's gone under a minute, it was down around 51 seconds. This will be the point at which riders in this break will start to, at the very least, look at Adam Yates as if to say, it's time now, off you trot.
But again, there'll be people sitting at home who aren't very well versed in cycling politics or tax and say, hang on a minute, why should he do that? Why should he? He's every much right to be there as everybody else.
And it's a reasonable question, and I know you know the answer, Rob. The thing is, with Adam Yates, highly placed on GC, started the day at 7th. The reason for the chase behind is because Adam Yates is in there. Nobody else is a threat on general classification. He's at 6 minutes 59. The rest of the group, the next best is at 33 minutes. Julien Bernard. That is absolutely zero threat to anybody. So the chase behind is being led by GC teams because their positions are being threatened by Adam Yates. If he wasn't there, the break would get the freedom, it'd go up the road, and those ones in the break will be fighting out the stage victory. So they need to get rid of Adam Yates. It's still hanging in the balance a little bit, but at a certain point, I wonder if even his team may tell him to sit up, because The other thing you don't want to do is make enemies in the peloton with a number of teams.
But I mean, there's a few teams who made enemies anyway. Visma Leasebike mustn't have been very popular when they did what they did then, instead of working together with all the other teams. I'm just going to come in as well, because you talked about the gap coming down. There are now 5 teams committed to working at the front. They are JK Lula, Ineos Grenadiers with at least 2 riders, including Geraint Thomas, Decathlon AG Desert, Cofidis, and Arkea BMB.
So out of the teams that are riding, there's potentially 4 that will continue to ride. So if Ineos could stop, if Adam Yates sat up, Ineos could say, that'll do us. We're happy with that. We've got Kwiatkowski in the break. Let him do his thing. And there's no threat to Carlos Rodriguez' GC position from Yates. They could pull the pin on the chase. The others, though, they're riding for sprinters. Decathlon were told just before we heard in the radio communication, 3.5 hours of suffering, just go with everything you got. Let's try and get a stage result. Arkea BMB went close initially with Arnaud Demar yesterday, then relegated, but okay, so what? He went close to crossing the line first. They're just seizing the opportunity for another possible shot at a stage win.
Yeah, and I can't see him sitting up. I mean, it's perfect for them and the team looking forward, looking ahead at this race. It's not just today that they're going to be taken into consideration as to what is this going to take out of the other GC teams. We've got a huge 2 days to come in the mountains, so they're not worried about making enemies, I don't think, in the peloton behind. This isn't in their nature. This isn't the way they race their bikes.
Is that for UAE?
Yes.
Yeah, well, they're not making enemies sort of in the peloton beyond. It's sort of the thing of making enemies of the guys who are in the break with you, because you effectively, by keeping Yates there, ruining the chances of everybody else in this break of winning this stage from this break.
Yeah,
because
I don't think they're going to worry about that. You know, they've got bigger fish to fry here, and they're thinking about the yellow jersey.
You know, they maybe already made a few enemies in a way the other day, the way they rode in the stage that ended up being won by Jonas Vingegaard. They could have easily let that break go that day, and they chose to chase all day, be really aggressive, shut down everybody else's moves.
My point exactly.
Yeah, but I think this is at the moment, if I was their director, I'd say to Adam Yates, stay there for now, see if the chase blows up. Then it's great. If it got down to 30 seconds, 25 seconds, I'd be on the edge of saying, sit up, go back, and then the break should still be able to go.
Fascinating. The politics of it all, eh? There is Yates, white jersey on, yellow helmet. UAE Emirates still lead the team classification. Tadej Pogacar leads the race. He's now led a Grand Tour for more days than Fausto Coppi did. 51. Of course, 30 Grand Tour leaders' jerseys just this season, by the way. If he wants the most in a season ever, he's got 7 more to go. Eddy Merckx did that in 1970. But, of course, there were more stages in the Tour then. He had 23 yellow jerseys just from the Tour de France.
Oh, yeah, stages A and B in certain editions of the Tour on the same day.
Back to the radio in the meantime.
Talk to Remco and tell him that if they put 2 and also to Visma, then we will also put G, okay? G and Castro can work, and then we're 6 working there.
And that seems to have happened, because just looking, I've seen a Visma rider now at the front as well, and it looked as though there was a blue and white jersey from Soudal Quickstep not far away. May well have been Yves Lampaert, who did start working initially, and then of course we had those other teams coming in, and again we had what Robbie was just talking about before. Yeah, well, we'll hang on and we'll save, you know, waiting, but no, look at all these guys committed now.
And this is what's so intriguing about cycling. They're joining forces, they're making alliances between themselves now, in the best interest of both the teams who want this to come back.
That's 7 teams working, by the way, now.
And still holding at 52 seconds at the moment. That's why Adam Yates needs to stay there for now.
Just shows the strength of the breakaway.
Yep, strength of the break, and then potentially an eventual weakness of the chase, that they're unable with that many riders to make a big impression, and it may yet blow up as they, you know, we're 12 days deep. Well, 13 now. 12 full stages behind the riders already. Fatigue is a huge element of what riders are capable of at this point in the race, and this chase could yet fizzle out. just taking a few seconds back, but just back to that politics within the race and creating enemies and what could happen. You look at yesterday, there was a crash early on that Tadej Pogacar was caught up in. Yellow jersey caught behind. There were 4 riders off the front. There's still lots of counter-attacking going on until that crash happened. Held up the yellow jersey, so all the counter-attacks stopped. Then the 4 move clear, Bunch shuts down. He safely makes his way back to the peloton. If you then, after today, make enemies, there's riders and teams who are annoyed at you for keeping Adam Yates in there until your breakaway gets shut down. Go forward another day or 2. You have a similar situation possibly to yesterday. Pogacar gets held up by something. There may be riders that say, you know what, I'm not going to stop trying to get in the break. I'm not going to shut down the Bunch and let him easily come back. If it's a crosswind stage around Nim, for example, so what, yellow jersey? You annoyed me the other day. You shut down our break by doing what you did. So we're just going to keep going. See you later.
I think this is a different situation to me, though. That's almost the respect to the yellow jersey in a crash versus, you know, what's happening out on the road, and having a rider that was capable, was there at the right time to get themselves in the break. Yeah,
but don't underestimate the irritation of guys who have their chance at a stage win ruined.
This has been in the playground.
It is, though. It really is.
Into Occitanie. We've been weaving our way between Nouvelle-Aquitaine and Occitanie, right on the border. 45 seconds, and the introduction of different riders riding has really brought it back. Geraint Thomas having a word with those other riders, as we heard. That's Barret Lemon, Bruno Amirail, Chrysio Jensen, Geraint Thomas we mentioned, Jonathan Castroviejo. They're not just any riders as well. They're some of the strongest riders in the whole pro peloton who are working hard to bring back a group that, yes, was massively committed at the front. Yes, he's still riding here, but you feel you're starting to get to that moment where not everybody is as full out as they were. Everybody's starting to think about what ifs. We've heard the politics and the playground arguments between Robbie and Danny, and they're all valid arguments.
I was looking back in the bunch, keeping an eye on where Adam Yates is riding within the group, and seeing the riders coming back as they go through and off, seeing if anyone is going to pay him any attention. And I was just thinking, I reckon I know who's going to be the first one to say something. Rui Costa turned to Adam Yates and just said something to him, because Yates' head turned towards Costa as he was spoken to. So it's starting.
Well, let's just say that Senor Costa has quite the reputation. So I'm not sure how well that would go down with most of the riders. Never mind there, Adam Yates.
Well, Rui Costa's normally the guy who, to put it very kindly, in a breakaway, he's doing only as much as the guy doing the least.
Hey, I mean, from my side, that is not a criticism. I'm just telling you how he's perceived by other riders. I think he's an absolute Rolls Royce of a bike rider. He's won so many races, 3 tour stages, world championships, and he's still winning late into his 30s. I think he's an absolute superb bike rider. But you speak to people in the peloton, and there's generally an eye roll.
Yeah, he's a very good bike rider, but he is ruthless. He's not here to take prisoners. He's here to try and win bike races, and he doesn't care if his style annoys others and they don't feel he's contributing as much as they are. He says, that's fine by me. I'm here to win bike races and then retire and sit back in Portugal and enjoy the fruits of my labour. So get on with your own race. But yes, it does make others roll their eyes when you talk about Rui Costa.
He's a great bike rider. And he's great for us. He's great entertainment for one of those, because he's different, isn't he? And the way he goes about it is different. He's being chased down, though, like the other 21 are. And the gap continues to come down here, Danny.
Yeah, and I just saw
43 seconds.
Saw Geraint Thomas talking into his radio there, and it looked like Thomas Pidcock was just moving up ever so slightly. So I'm wondering if that's going to offer up another rider in this chase now, because we are getting closer to another exposed section at 89 kilometers to go. So they are going to want to close this as soon as possible.
Welcome back, everybody. We are more than 5 minutes ahead of the fastest predicted schedule, based on 47 kilometers per hour. It's a rip-roaring start to this tour stage. It rolls on, they chase on, and for the next little while, I'm going to hand you over to Carlton Kirby.
Thank you, Rob. Absolutely breathless. We've said that time and time again during this Tour de France. I think there's only been one day where, after a big climbing day at Point-Marie, we had a little bit of quiet, perhaps at the top. And maybe the day, of course, after Galibier as well, where finally today, well, we got ourselves a breakaway established. It's an enormous one of 21 riders, but the quality within it is absolutely outstanding. And because of that, there's a problem. It includes Adam Yates. They're trying to bully him out of the break. He's going absolutely nowhere for the time being. And those who are chasing on into the gap have got their work cut out. They've finally established an accord. There are 7 teams that have got together and decided that it may well be worthwhile just charging into this gap. One of those teams is Jayco Alula. Now, they were the first to really start off in pursuit of this amazing super group. Well, the travelling Wilburys at the moment have got an advantage of around 45 seconds. But Jayco, Decathlon, Bora, Soudal, Cofidis, Intermarché, Arkea, they missed it. Here's Jayco.
You have been second there before in the Tour. It looks interesting, the parkour, a bit hilly in the final, but also possible crosswinds out there. What are you guys thinking about today's stage?
I think also what the other team's thinking. Can be windy, can be break, but on the end can be also a sprint. The thing is that Alpecin lose now 2 guys. Yeah, also they still also a crash, so yeah, you need to see how much control there is, and yeah, that's not always in our hands.
How are you doing? You said it was a tough stage yesterday, Dylan. How are the legs?
Yeah, it was really hot yesterday, but also in the end there was a lot of climbing. Small climbing, but yeah, on the end was more than 2,000 altitude meters. So for a sprinter, that's a lot, and I could feel it in my legs in the end. But yeah, we hopefully we can put me in a good position today.
And finally, are we going to see the Batman glasses in the final?
I think I will put it on today. It's I think it will stay dry. So yesterday was a bit rainy in the start. So yeah, today it's the day again.
Have a good one.
Thank you.
Groenewegen missed it. His team did as well. Too much lingering towards the backing, including Michael Matthews at the top of the day. With 99 kilometres to go, somebody will be ordering an ice cream before you know it. But it is cooler today, around about 23, 24 Celsius. But there is a wind blowing up. And we've got a direction change coming up as well as we come through Courzoban. We are going to be heading due south until we get to our intermediate sprint. Wind has been a massive factor and may well get magnified, Danny.
Yeah, like you say, Carlton, 89 kilometres to go. There'll be a change in direction. It's not for long. It's only around 4 kilometres. But the critical one for me is at 59.5 kilometres to go, where there's a 10-kilometre section of cross tailwind, which is the most conducive wind direction to cause absolute chaos in the peloton or any group, and even more so critical because this is just before these climbs come. Today is hugely back-ended compared to the sprint that we had yesterday. Another opportunity or an opportunist day to use those climbs in the final, and then a fast run into Po. So it was interesting to hear from Groenewegen there and the team of Jayco Alula, who have also been one of the teams working behind. So I don't think it's not just the GC teams behind in the peloton who are worried about this. There's also these 3 sprint teams in Jayco Alula, Cofidis and Arkea B&B who also want this to come back for their opportunities today.
They've got to, Robbie.
Well,
They've got to work.
They've got to. I mean, the Tour de France only has 21 stages, and when you've earmarked a particular stage, you've got to go out and get it. No one's going to hand it to you. So I understand that the sprint team's chasing behind even this far to go because it's such a high-powered break. It's going to take a lot of chasing.
There are so many different kinds of riders who've won into Po in the past. Climbers, rouleurs, sprinters, even time trialists, of course. In 2019, Julien Alaphilippe was the man who held on to yellow while Geraint Thomas was breathing down his neck. Today, well, we're getting over towards the Pyrenees, which means it's moderated the temperatures just a little bit, but the racing has been absolutely white hot. Just hovering in on Steve Williams at the moment and looking at his rolling pace of 55 kilometres per hour. Today has been quick. The average is about 48 and a half so far, and this is in a calmer section that we are dealing with. It's been anything but so far today. 7 teams chasing, 50 seconds the gap right now, but there's too much firepower up the road, Danny, for this to go easily. This gap is going to be hard to eat into. It's going to need a cohesive battle by those behind if they're going to close it. At least now more teams who've missed the break are involved.
Yeah, absolutely, and you can see the firepower in this breakaway or this front group of riders, and it is going to be tough behind, and it's going to be a case of teams having to offer up more riders in that chase as we get closer and closer to the finish. Robbie said about some of the teams just kind of risking to in their pursuit to win today's stage, but ultimately this gap is being held by these front group of riders. So I think there's going to come a time where they simply have to offer up more help in the pursuit of closing this gap down.
Robbie, the Visma move that tried to, I think, possibly catch out Evenepoel, not quite sure, but Pogacar joined it. Evenepoel was late to the party but got there. Was there any sense in them pushing on? Was there anyone left behind that they would have liked to have dealt with? It seemed like almost a hiding to nothing at one point.
Well, Carlton, as that happens, Robbie's exited and I'm in, and
hello,
Magnus Cort is on the attack. Julian Bernard just behind him, Kwiato following him, but this is the danger within this group, and this is one of the big reasons why they'd start to come back right now, is the faffing around, the playing that they'll start to do. Rather than work together, this would be advantage peloton. But Magnus Cort, we've seen him in this situation before. He's done well out of this situation before when he's been in a group, attacked it, taken advantage of it, because this would be perfect now for a lot of teams. Adam Yates moving to the side of the road, as Danny's pointing out. That group just needs to stay cohesive between them.
I'm quite surprised this is happening so early on, with still 95.3 kilometres to go as well, and with the exposed section still to come. To me, their best option or their best chances of making it to the line would be to, like Adam said, work cohesively together, share that workload, not disrupt the momentum and the cohesion of this group.
Would you want to come to the line with Mathieu van der Poel and all them?
I wouldn't, but still with 95 kilometres to go and the climbs that we've got in the back end in that last 50 kilometres, there's other opportunities to do it later on.
Is Kwiatkowski, I mean, him being here, he clearly wasn't the battle plan, because Ineos Grenadiers were busy trying to work on that gap as well at one point, Adam.
They were, yeah, and, you know, they've every right to be with Adam Yates there, but at the same time, they've great opportunity to win the stage. Kwiato is a master tactician. He's very, very clever, very, very good at it. And if he's in this little move here, he's done it for a reason. You know, these guys will commit together, they'll work together, they'll ride hard together, and Kwiato in there, he'll rally those 3 riders with him to be able to do that, you know, really push them on, egg them on a little bit. And by doing this, they've got rid of trying to worry about the other riders' tactics in the background, because there's so many riders behind still that they'll be looking at each other to, you do that work, I'll do this work. And one of the main things in that group is Vandenberg from EF. He's a very, very fast sprinter, super fast. He's got 2 teammates, Will Nielsen in there and Rui Costa as well. So I think just getting ahead of those guys and taking that threat of a super fast guy out of it, it's a good plan to have.
It's almost a stare down at the moment, Danny, isn't it? With only 10 seconds between them. Sorry to just interrupt you there. 9 seconds. At least this is the first skirmish, I think, within this group, if this doesn't stick. But who's going to pick it up, Danny and Bridge, here?
Yeah, you could say that for Jonas Abrahamsen, he's looking to take more points on those on the climbs later on in the stage. But I was just going to mention, you know, it's always so important to have a rider like Kwiatkowski in a move like this, that captain role. He is the captain of the Ineos team. He knows how to win bike races, but you generally find that it is the rider with the most experience and knows how to get the most out of the group that they're in.
Magnus Cort just starting the move. Here it is from this break. No cohesion in the chase, but the 4 have managed to separate themselves. A modest margin at the moment, Adam, of 11 seconds. It's stickable, though, isn't it, with the quality we've got up here?
It is, yeah. It's just interesting that Magnus Cort's gone on the attack with the points on offer available for Abrahamsen a little bit later on. Yes, they're not many points at all. They're not going to make too much of a dent into these in his points competition for the King of the Mountains jersey, but there's no real rider that is going to just start to bring it back. It needs to be every single one of them. It needs to be all of them. And look now, you can see there's attacks going from this group, and the more they start to do this, is the harder it's going to be to bridge across them. Paula's just not having that look over his shoulder by the looks of things. Probably wrong, but yeah, it's going to get interesting within this group.
The sun is out, the wind is up, as we know, and we are now riding down some narrower country lanes. There's a big left-hander that I've just gone by about 2 or 3 kilometres ago. Because the gap is so narrow between the brake and the peloton, we're now right in front of the race. We're moving on to some much narrower lanes. We've been on pretty main roads for the vast majority of the day, and these aren't super narrow, but they are significantly narrower than we saw before. Twisting and turning as well. A big drop off either side. There's a drainage ditch to the right and indeed to the left. Not quite as much margin for error, and a bit of a grippier surface. And importantly as well, we've now picked up a chuffer, which is slang for a tailwind, and we know what a tailwind equals: fun and frolics. Back to the commentators.
Thank you, Matt, and a whole load of pace, Danny, as well.
It is a whole lot of pace, and you can see, and I was going to say the onus would be on EF because they are the team with 3 riders, the most riders in this front group. But Nelson Powless was one of those riders to come down in that crash yesterday, and he's starting today's stage with a fractured wrist, I believe it is. So that is why he is struggling at this point.
Just Brent Van Moor is just trying to close this down to give Arnaud de Lee just a chance to stay within that group, get some more protection. Having a teammate is an absolutely golden thing when you're in this kind of situation, Adam. You can you have your protected rider like Arnaud de Lee, most certainly, but Brent Van Moor is doing a mighty job at the moment. Might see him just pop into position. He's got some help as well. Others are interested now. 15 seconds though. This is the way that the big break actually formed. We had a holding pattern, didn't we, of around between 27 and 35 seconds for kilometre after kilometre. In a certain sense, with those gaps, it's almost like a slow motion bicycle race. The gaps are modest, even back to the peloton. It's still only a minute and 12 at it.
On the contrary about the teammate though, Carlton, it is difficult to have a teammate within this group. Soon as you have one teammate within this group, you're looked upon, you're relied upon to do that work. You know, the other riders, I mean, you've got a teammate in there, get one of your riders to chase, get one of your riders to do that. All of them are trying hard, all of them are on the limit, so it's not about looking at them. And look, you've got Rui Costa and Vandenberg in second towards the back, and then his teammate right towards the front, just in front of him. It's great to have a teammate in terms of bottles, feeding, sharing the workload, but in this situation, every other person is going to look to you. Well, you've got 2 teammates in this group. Start to chase.
The onus is on you then to do the majority of the work. I think at this stage, the reason why we've got this group that's attacked this front group is that they're trying to form a new group without Adam Yates to have more of an opportunity of going all the way to the line.
It's beautiful roller coaster countryside at the moment. Just look at the pace. It's undiminished. I know we're on a little downhill section here, but goodness me, they've taken the bit between the teeth. Magnus Cort started this move. Romain Gregoire, Julien Bernard and Mikhail Kwiatkowski are here. Kwiatkowski just having a look-see. You always want to know what the composition of the riders who are with you, and also you want to see whether they are indeed suffering. Let's see, 27 seconds. It's expanded, Danny.
It has indeed, and like you said, Carlton, information as to the composition of the groups, where everyone lies on GC, potentially strengths and weaknesses, although these riders will know each other very well, having raced with each other for years and years. But that information will be relayed from the Director Sportif as well, with extra information on the road as to what's coming up ahead, if there's any weather changes that are going to occur, you know, where the feeds are, where their staff are on the side of the road, the soigneurs and the like. So all of that information critical. Just going back here to the back of the peloton, a couple of riders at the medical car, it looks like to me.
Certainly is. It's the only car you're allowed to hold on indefinitely while you're being treated. Well, tummy upsets potentially. Who knows? No idea what has been asked for by the rider, but sickness has washed through, I'm afraid, the race. We've heard many a rider indeed have been affected by it, and we've seen it with our own eyes as well. Some self-declared, like Mikkel Mørkum. Others Well, teams being very, very cagey about it. Visma Lease Bike turning up today for signing with masks on, Adam. It doesn't bode well.
It doesn't bode well, Carlton, and it's awful that COVID is coming round again within the peloton and sickness, but sickness has always happened within the Tour de France, but it just seems with the stages that we've had and the hard racing that they had, that their immune systems are pushed right to the limit in each and every day. As we see Phil Bauhaus, with a mechanical problem. Looks like he's changing his bike, taking his bike computer off, bottles off, waiting for his team car to come along.
88 kilometres to go, just under half a minute from our now fractured breakaway. Mati Mohoric, by the way, for Bahrain victorious, one of those up the road. Tom Squinch has been left in arrears as Julien Bernard, his teammate, has gone off up the road. Adam Yates remains within the chase group just for now. The peloton at 1 minute and 21. Gosh, it's still very compact considering the amount of kilometres that we've done. We're just approaching the halfway mark of the day as we drift over the vineyards here. Haven't had a chance to get to John yet for his recipe, I don't think anyway. Maybe why I just popped out a few moments ago. Great wine country as well down here. We're heading today to Matigram, by the way, which is the southernmost red, I believe, in France. Rather dismissively referred to as Spanish wine within France. But, yes, I rather like it. Welcome back, everybody. We're just about to cruise over the halfway mark of today's stage, and it's passed by extraordinarily quickly. We are looking at an average pace of nudging up to 48 kilometres per hour. And at any one time, depending on how the wind is blowing, we're having our pace, or at least the effort required to keep the pace, changing. It's hard to get comfortable on a day like today in so many different ways. What was that, Adam? It was a turning upside down of a bottle.
Rodriguez was giving the bottle back. Can't drop litter, so it's fair enough. I was just having a little giggle. Normally see it the other way.
Yeah, there we are. Done with that one. Temperature moderated today, but the racing's been absolutely white hot. It's been wonderful. We're just heading around the peloton. Sean Kelly's back with a smile on his face and some breadsticks. He'll be tucking into those a little bit later on. If you hear some gnawing in the background, that's what that is. Keep your fluids where they need to be, Danny, even when the temperatures start to fall. And we're down to around 24 Celsius today, which is pleasant.
It is very pleasant, and yeah, I totally agree, Carlton. It's not just about, you know, how hot it is out there, it's hydration throughout the stages and fuel in your body. So yeah, critical that these riders are taking on sustenance and hydration from their bottles throughout every single stage, despite how hot it is out there.
Dare we go to John for a brief one before the intermediate sprint lifts up. So many vines, John. I imagine you've been chomping at the bit to try and have a word.
I have. I mean, today's recipe, I have actually included the fact that if people would so wish, you being one of those people, you could enjoy it with a glass of Madiran. Because I know over the years that we've bashed heads about this particular wine. I personally prefer some of the white wines that come from this region. You can get some really outstanding white wines, the Clos de Gascon being one in particular, but you also get lovely Armagnac, a lot of Armagnac grown around, the grapes for Armagnac grown around here. Although I have always been told that to be a proper Frenchman you drink cognac and Armagnac's just for tourists. I don't believe that for a second. I think Armagnac's fantastic, but then again I'm English.
John was once given an extraordinarily expensive bottle of Armagnac, I believe. Was this one you quaffed accidentally, John?
No. That was a gift to my dad on his 60th birthday, and it was one from the year of his birth, which was 1944. I will not be doing the same for his 80th birthday this year.
Oh, I see. Sorry, it was your generosity. For some reason, I had it in my mind that you'd actually drunk it while he was away on holiday or something. But anyway.
I mean, it does sound like something I do, but no, that isn't the case.
All right, thank you, John. Did you mention your recipe today?
I haven't.
Briefly?
I haven't done the recipe yet today.
Maybe we'll have some space after the intermediate sprint.
Okay,
if it's a long one, just tell us what it is, and then we'll get back to this.
Yeah, it's pomme salades, so they're the potatoes from this region, but they're not salad potatoes as we discussed earlier.
All right, there we are. Samin Geska, a big engine is just what you need if you've got a job to do. And as you can see, the peloton at the moment sits at 1:25. In terms of the pursuers, 38 seconds now, Danny. This is a significant gap, and it looks solid to the quartet who are off the front at the moment.
Yeah, it does look solid, and they're clearly, you know, with the intent of taking this all the way to the line. The riders that we've got in that composition, you know, the parkour favours them. We've got a lumpier terrain in the final. So, yeah, exactly, Carlton. It is looking good. There's still a long way to go, though. But for that peloton behind, it seems that they're just not making huge inroads, are they, to the group up ahead? So I'm sure there's going to be a lot of stress there from those teams in the back trying to close this one.
Adam, when does it become a balancing act now, with teams starting to throw their minds towards Saint-Lary tomorrow?
Good question, Carlton. I mean, they can't sit up because they can't let Adam Yates get too far up the road in terms of the GC teams, you know, chasing him down here and holding that gap. So it really depends if they can bring this gap back or not, and then they can cruise into the finish, do less work on the front. But in terms of the balancing act, you know, the riders have got to do their job. They've got to make sure he doesn't get too far up the road, and if it doesn't come back, they'll be riding hard until that happens.
It's a conundrum, isn't it, Danny? You have to almost feather your input depending on the way the race has been ridden even up to today, never mind how it's being ridden today, and of course what lays ahead tomorrow.
Yeah, and that's what we were talking about earlier, isn't it? For UAE, it's the ideal position to be in, because for them behind, they can simply follow, versus the GC teams specifically, who are having to chase and put teammates up at front, and they're going to have to do so for the entirety of this stage to limit the losses to Adam Yates if it does stay away. So yeah, again, looking ahead, that they're just using and burning up that energy behind that they're going to need to use, especially with the two brutal days that we've got to come before the rest day.
Well, they're riding like they've got a tailwind at the moment, as Matt Stevens was pointing out. The pace has been absolutely relentless, but with Kwiatkowski, with Julian Bernard, we have Roman Gregoire and indeed Magnus Cort up the road. They're having fun. It's as simple as that. As much as you can after the ardours of what we've been dealing with. Passing by the Madeira area, which of course John is very dismissive of. It's the furthest, most southerly red wine in France. Little bowls that avoid the kind of heat up and then avoid the frost, which means that you get the red wine here. But 5 kilometres to go to the sprint. I think, John, we might have chance for your recipe.
You'd like that right now?
Go on then.
Yeah, absolutely. So pomme de terre saladaire from this particular region, something that I think lots of people will find nice and simple. I cooked it with chicken in lemon and thyme to go along with it, but for the potatoes themselves you want to have 4 large Maris pipers. That's for my preferred blend of potato, cut into 1/2-inch discs. You've got 8 cloves of garlic, you can see where this one's going, some water, rock salt, a little bit of parsley and some ground black pepper, and then you cook those in just very gently with the water over the top of them. Just allow them to tenderize over quite a long time with the garlic, then whack on the rock salt and the parsley. Serve them in a nice, if you've got one of those chef circles, serve them in one of those. Always makes them look that much more attractive. Put a little bit of extra salt on top. Serve it with some chicken and thyme with a nice little jus to go along with that, and some green beans, and enjoy. As I've said on my Instagram page, if you wish, if you want red wine with a glass of Madeira, or if you want a classier dry white, go for the Clos de Gascogne. And that's all available at JHB Foodie Cyclist, along with all of the other recipes on this year's tour.
I understand there's also a spectacular dry, sweet dessert wine in these parts as well, made with some of the red grape raisins. But
yeah, I think it's about 10% of the wine production in this area is devoted to sweet wine as well, and yeah, it's excellent. It's a particularly excellent brew. It's a good region for wine, and you're obviously moving on to the flanks of Bordeaux as well. So there's a lot of good wine on offer, and Madeira.
Thank you, John. A lot of good effort today as well from absolutely everybody. It's been remarkable. Another very fast day. If you looked at the top of the day, you were thinking, well, with some climbs towards the end of it, Danny, modest as they are, that maybe it would be a breakaway up the road and then just a bit of an amble. It's been anything but, which proves that we kind of have to expect the unexpected in this year's race. It's been wonderful, hasn't it?
And that's been the narrative of the tour, isn't it? To expect the unexpected, and that's what's made it so exciting from start to finish, because it's just been so unpredictable due to, you know, the wind that we've had, the parkour, the way in which these teams are racing, and what the outcome of their game plan or focus is for each and every stage. It's been hugely exciting, but it is more back-ended today versus yesterday's stage, so I think we are going to see a lot more action now in the last 80 kilometres.
Welcome back to Robbie McEwen. Robbie, the battle plan earlier on for Jonas Vingegaard called for pace, didn't manage to shake out Tadej Pogačar. It was a wake-up call for Remco Evenepoel. Was it worth the candle to have that dig?
Absolutely worth the effort. If they could have had a twofold success had it worked out, if they'd distanced Pogačar, that's the number one, and then got themselves across to the break and been able to do what they wanted, then dictate everything in everyone else's tactics by their own riding. That's not worked out, but at the moment it looks like the crisis is being averted for everybody caught out by the move of Adam Yates into that break, because you look at the time gaps now, the main part of that initial break at 55 seconds behind these four, but crucially only 23 seconds ahead of the peloton, so it looks now like it's being shut down. The only thing I thought about when these four went off the front of the rest of the break, thought, okay, you need to get things moving, ideally just cause a big split that doesn't have Adam Yates in it, and then it's game on. But when it's only four, if the rest of that break gets caught by the peloton, these four are very catchable. If you're in the peloton and considering a chase, want to bring everything back together for a sprint, you go, so you tell them there's only four off the front? Oh, too easy, got this under control.
Nothing easy about this race, Robbie.
No, there's nothing easy about the race, but the situation has become really manageable now. You're just chasing four riders who've been out there since the get-go. If you've been in the peloton and not had to hit the front to do turns of pace just yet, you say, okay, we're ready to take over, we'll wind this one back in.
Yeah, on the contrary, though, I guess never underestimate the break. And these four riders are hugely, strong in their own right. You've got Kwiatkowski there, who is a winner. And with the parkour being back-ended, it definitely gives them more of an advantage, you would say, versus yesterday.
This is your intermediate sprint. They almost dismiss it as we come across the line with Romain Gregoire, Julien Bernard next to him. It's going to be about those the fifth place, I imagine, if indeed there is a catch. Here is the Nogaro Paul Armagnac circuit. A little bit of touring car action going on for you with the big runoffs here. You can tell that this is a motorcycle circuit as well. And indeed, a long reach before you get to some of the barriers. The bleu, blanc et rouge just on some of the painted surface here.
Well, that's the circuit we saw last year as a finish, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
Crashes as well. We saw a number of crashes on the approach, but anyway, in the end, Jasper Philipsen won when they finished on this circuit.
There was a little bit of worry as well, wasn't there, about the stability of the surface. Meanwhile, Arnaud Delis comes through of those who are in that secondary group, so he takes indeed I guess of all the fast men the most useful points still on offer. Plenty of quick men back here as well.
Nothing for them. Pecking order is indeed kind of neutralized. It serves Biniam Girmay absolutely perfectly, the way that this has just worked out, Robbie. Well, the way everything's worked out so far on this tour has really gone Biniam Girmay's way, and that's what happens when you're in superb form.
You make your own luck, don't you? That's what they've done, certainly.
"75 kilometers from home. If you have, in fact,
check. What up?
Left us for a commercial break.
Oh, I'm dead.
They'll be back shortly. Minute now, the gap with that fractured breakaway, leaving four up the road, and 7 seconds until the main body, including Adam Yates, has been tagged by the peloton. Adam Yates, a real thorn in the side of many out there, Adam. Sorry, Robbie, I beg your pardon.
Yeah, we're chopping and changing at
Holy Christ.
a fast pace today, Carlton. I nipped out for lunch and Adam's gone off to do a pre-record. I had to
busy.
I had to inhale my chicken souvlaki. I'm back in the game, but don't get too used to it. I'm only here for 20k or so. I'll be back out again, and then I'm coming back in for the finale. It's a real tag team effort.
Got the long stint today, haven't I?
Yeah, you're the only constant here, Danny.
Well,
Someone has to be.
Sean's brought the biscuits. That's all I'm getting today, but it won't do me any harm. Don't worry, there's plenty of stores there. Just under 75 kilometres to go. So, are they going to make it? This quartet. It's only a minute. Do you think this is...
Wow.
As we get lumpier towards the end, there's going to be a catch and then all hell is going to break loose?
I knew this was going to be difficult, but
you
damn.
want to get yourself a stage win out of the way, but I imagine an awful lot of tiredness as well factored into the equation, Robbie.
I'm going to say that the quartet in the lead is not going to make it to fight out the stage win. As I said before, if you're back in the bunch and thinking we want to force a bunch sprint, bring everything back together, great, it's only 4. We'll catch this, though, and the caveat is you do need to chase properly. They're 4 really strong riders, but a definite advantage to the peloton now. There's still a bit of resistance here in the front. Davide Ballerini, Kevin Genietz following that wheel, but this is a breakaway in the throes of death. This is, I mean, I really don't want to get caught. I made all this effort. I'd try and just do something, but this is too late.
Yeah, it is, and I'd have to agree with you, Robbie. You know, the interest of those teams behind is just too strong. I'd love to see them make it, of course we would, but you know, there's only 2 opportunities left for the sprinters. So my pick as well, if I was going to bet, would be a bunch sprint again today.
And so, who's your choice for the day? Have you already said it on your?
Our predictors challenge, Carlton.
Yes,
well, I had 4th pick. I went with Dali, but now I'm a little bit worried that he's had to use up a bit too much energy being in that breakaway. But now he's got the chance to just sit back and follow and use his teammates. Who did you have, Robbie?
I picked Biniam Gourmet.
I mean, great pick. He's absolutely flying, isn't he? He's got that momentum. Could be number 4 for him.
Well, if anything is going to prevent him from getting his 4th stage win, it's probably me picking him.
I actually thought that it'd be Bettiol to take from a long distance as part of a breakaway, but there was 3 from EF and he wasn't one of them. So,
but how good is that we're all predicting totally different scenarios each and every day?
Nice,
that is what's been brilliant about this tour.
Welcome back, those of you who have been away. We have had a coming together of the peloton, and indeed 16 or thereabouts, probably 14 actually, with 2 trying to just push on, including Davide Ballerini in no man's land at the moment. We still have 4 up the road. We've got around about a minute on the peloton. We've kind of done the first phase of their job, if indeed it's going to be a bunch sprint at the end of the day. Haven't quite caught those pursuers, which is the Abrahamsen group, which has still got a little bit of life on it, and it's Abrahamsen himself who wants to bridge over to those climbs that still offer solitary points on 2 occasions. At the moment, he shares that jersey in terms of points with Tadej Pogačar. 1 point would do it to put him in the unique lead, and he doesn't want to let this one go, Robbie.
Oh, he wants to. I mean, it's been the story of his tour, isn't it? Just if there's anything left in the tank, then burn it up and get it out and keep going. He just doesn't know the word stop or cease. But it's not quite closed between this group and the peloton. With his acceleration, saw Ballerini go a little bit, then Jonas Abrahamsen. And I just noticed in the peloton, the chase was really intense. And as they had them in their sights, it was almost closed. There was a definite easing off as Arnaud Dali now makes another acceleration. So still riders trying to make that counter-attack, see if they can get away in a new group, maybe go across to the front.
It was all bar done, wasn't it? About 7 seconds before we went to the long shot. I assumed that they'd come together, but it's been restretched just a little bit, as you can see. Well, we've got about 18, 19 seconds now. No panic in the peloton, though, Danny.
No, it looks like Visma now taking control on the front for Wout van Aert.
But that's the problem. No panic in the peloton. No
And it's
intent.
not over till it's over, is it?
Yeah.
You know, until it's closed, it's not a done deal. And you could see that from Jonas Abrahamsen, who you just mentioned, who is wearing the jersey for Tadej Pogacar. They were tied on points, but Pogacar having the upper hand because he scored on higher categorised points. So this is his last chance to take over that jersey and hold it in his own right for tomorrow's stage, you could argue. And I mean, he's taken every single opportunity as an absolute machine. One of the riders of the Tour for me so far.
Whether or not he takes a point today, I guess it doesn't matter much. When we head into the Pyrenees, then it's going to be all over for Polka Dots and Johansson. But this just shows, though, you don't got them till you got them. The peloton just got complacent and, well, we've caught them when they weren't yet in the wheel.
Amazing, isn't it? The most modest gap I've ever seen that was re-expanded, we mentioned it earlier in this tour, was Tony Martin, about 7 seconds, I think it got down to, before he skittled off again. It can happen, but maybe it depends on a cohesive effort within this group as well. They're all on the radios at the moment, presumably just ordering what they can from the car, which has been stripped out of the gap naturally because it is so modest. And here we go again.
Hugo Hula.
Yeah, just relentless. Looking back, Abrahamsen, I think he's accepted his fate, presumably. Let's see. You just never know. Wind's picking up, gusting as well today, Robbie, and we're going to get to some wider and more open sections as well, even than this.
We are in the second half of the race. It actually does become more open than we've seen over the last 50 kilometres. And that wind is going to play a role again. It's gusts up and over 40 kilometres an hour, a constant of between 25 and 30 kilometres an hour. So certainly still a danger of splits occurring and echelons forming.
It's far from done, this, by the looks of things. Oh dear. I mean, when are they going to take it out of the oven? There indeed is the peloton. And finally, it looks like a bit more focus in terms of the drive to get this job finished here, Danny.
Danny's just had to step out for a moment.
Sorry, mate.
Carlton, but I'll answer that one. There is a bit more intent here. They sort of got themselves back in the rhythm and realised, oh, we're not yet in the wheel of the breakaway.
Jacob
so we'll
again.
just push on slightly.
Here's Astana.
Make sure you stay alongside Cav, okay? Make sure we start looking after Cav. There's good chance this race is not finished for sprinters yet, okay?
There we are, asking of themselves the question as a good body of the main breakaway is now just about to be eaten up. Still a few that are just skirmishing here, but only off the front of the peloton, as indeed they now just about get absorbed. Leaving 4 up the road, plus of course these question marks, still with Abrahamsen, who got a modest advantage of 6 metres, still thinking, is there still a chance? I think the answer is no. Davide Ballerini just swings to the side of the road. Abrahamsen now absorbed. Not altogether though, Robbie. Still 4 amigos up the road.
Yep, 4 up the road. You just mentioned Davide Ballerini swinging across the road, just across the bow of the riders from Visma Lease Bike, which says he's looking for a little bit of protection as he just is reabsorbed by the peloton. So getting himself to his left-hand side of the road because the wind is coming from the right, and that's going to be the tail all the way through the back end of this stage. The wind pushing in from the rider's right-hand side, basically at 90 degrees angle to the road until the last few kilometres. As they enter the outskirts of Pau, they will come back into what is more a slight head crosswind. So the wind a lot more against them in the very last part of the race. But even the 4 who are now off the front, that gap down to under 1 minute with 68 kilometres remaining. And the sprinters and their teams will be feeling they've got things back under control for the moment, but everybody in the peloton knows that the danger is still there of this race splitting in the crosswinds. Then of course mixing that with these albeit small climbs. They're still going to hurt if the pace is on, and particularly if they are on exposed roads, the wind is blowing across on the climbs themselves and across the top of them. We could still see some major splits in this peloton.
Robbie, every race is different, of course. You've had success in Pau yourself. If you're in the car, what would you be offering up today in terms of to the sprinters, if indeed this does all come back together as a nugget from this stage.
Well, I'd just be reminding my sprinter that you are absolutely still in this, but pay attention all the way in because of exactly what we're seeing on the screen now. The GC teams have been so spooked by what happened in the early part of the stage. They're all going to say you've got Soudal on the left of picture, UAE in the middle, Visma, Lisa Bike. The flags tell the story. It's going to be like this all the way in. It's going to be a fight for the front. And if one team feels like they're in a position where they can rip the race apart, they will do it. They'll just want to be on the front foot. And as a sprinter, and those teams say, just be along with them. Ride at the front.
I am
you don't get caught out.
completely shot.
Mike's picking up the shush of the wind within the trees here. 20 kilometres an hour the wind now. 20 kilometres per hour is the wind, but we're hearing gusts possibly just slamming into you of 35 kilometres an hour. They come like punches, Robbie.
Well, when it does gust up, and what you often get is not just gust of wind, but if you ride into certain areas along the stage route, if the topography is just right for it, a couple of hills in the right position in relation to the course, that sort of 30 or 35 k/h gust can suddenly turn into a 50 km/h gust of wind as it gets funneled through. That is easily enough to split a peloton. After that, if it even goes back to 30 k/h, 25 k/h, the damage is done. You've still got enough crosswind breeze. We are on, and it could cause absolute havoc in the peloton. And at some stages, not even aero bottles could save you if you're in the wrong position.
And that's what the teams are anticipating here, because it is that left turn that's coming in only 6 kilometres time now, and that's what we're seeing at the front, that anticipation, the lead outs of especially the GC teams who are very, very nervous, and naturally that is going to cause an increase in speed into the peloton, but it could change things because the riders now know it's coming, because they are spooked, as Robbie said, because of what happened straight away on today's stage. That actually could mean it's more neutralised and we don't see as many splits occurring.
20k until the first hill of the finale. Comes at 46 kilometres to go.
And that's what makes it even more critical, this next exposed section, because after it the climbs come thick and fast. So if there are splits, again, there's that opportunity to gain time.
I feel very sorry for Abramson, actually. I think he thought he'd have almost a wave through from the breakaway if it went all the way. He must have thought there's a lot of firepower here. I'll be able to hide myself within this group and then just nip out, everyone. Do you mind if I just go to the front, take these mountain points? Didn't happen for him. 4 though still up the road here. And with 64.9 kilometres remaining, we've got Sean Kelly has just rejoined us in the booth. Robbie, I understand we'll be seeing you a little bit later on.
You will be. The stints are going very, very quickly today. In fact, I thought I'm in till, well, I thought 62 to go, but I could be wrong. But if Sean's ready, I'm happy. I'll go and take another break, and I'll see you back with 36 kilometres to go. Have you finished your lunch, Sean?
Insane.
All ready to rock here into the final. I'm ready for this big one, and what a big day it's been, and it's only going to get bigger.
Yeah, Sean's had a salad, but how he fits it all on the plate, I do not know. I mean, it looks like a 1,000-calorie salad, to be honest. It looks like a bowler hat.
Oh, well, you know what they say about the Tour de France. It's not just the pedaling; it's an eating and sleeping race. So I'll go off. I've eaten. Might go for a snooze, and I'm going to see you back at 40 kilometres to go. Till then.
Welcome back, everybody. All calm across the road at the moment. 4 up the road. And indeed our mega breakaway more or less neutralised for now. Will there be another attempt? We should wait and see. For now, though, it's time for us to be rejoined by Rob Hatch.
Thank you very much, Carl. And I rejoin you with some news. Producer Pete's been in touch. And up the road, the van is being buffeted to the side of the road. The wind is blowing even stronger just north of Pau. These riders travelling
Thanks for
together
watching.
all day long.
I should leave this on.
They're gonna have to travel together.
Holy
So
crap.
closer
I'm gonna go
when the
shower
others
and
try to string it out
get
at the
some
front.
food in me, because
4 riders left, as Colton's
wow.
been telling you. Situation in terms of panic for the GC teams is done, but there is much